Hello everybody and welcome to the chaos that is our first video session. I just got done recording this thing for the last hour and 10 minutes, then I realized I didn't have my microphone on, so we're going to do this all over again because that's what we all need to do. So welcome to our little quick evening session, and I think it's probably the cleanest way that I can do this moving forward. My biggest fear is that I was going to use Zoom, but as for those of you who've used it before, it's a bit of a Brady Bunch situation when you got like little heads all over the screen, and I don't think that there's really any reason why we should all be staring at each other when all we really have to do is just kind of get some quick input and then kind of move on. So I might be wrong. If you have any questions, let me know, but that's my game plan for right now. So I'm going to make these really quick videos and just upload them like everybody else is doing, and then at your own leisure you can download them / view them and kind of move on with your curriculum from there. I'm trying to make things easier, not more difficult, so hopefully this fits that bill. So I'm going to break this session into 3 videos. The first one's going to be mostly around just general updates, administrative type stuff, and a little bit about assignment number 2, which is the Detroit Grand Prix piece. The next video is going to be about assignment number 3 and what that's all about. And the third video is going to be a tutorial that talks about new techniques and new tricks that you should be potentially working into your flow as much as you possibly can, and those things will continue to just be moving forward from there. So without further ado, as I say, kind of getting into the administration stuff. As I'm sure you've been seeing in all of your emails over the last couple of weeks, especially as the shutdown has been kind of ramping up, is there's a lot happening on the administrative CCS side and indeed the world as a whole. But specifically, we have extended the CCS semester by 1 week. Basically what that means is they have trimmed off reviews. We are no longer doing reviews for obvious reasons because of course we can't meet in person to go over past work. So they're going to replace that week with the week we lost when they gave us spring break part 2. So when they increased your spring break by a week, that was sort of lost time. So they're just going to chunk that on to the end of the semester. So you're still in school for the same duration of time for the semester. You just actually have classes now instead of a review for that week. So hopefully it all balances out and makes sense. That does mean that I believe our last day of class is going to be, let's see, May 7th, I think it is. Yeah, May 6th will be our last day of class. All of us together. Okay, so that's the first half. So getting into assignment number 2. So this is a pretty big one. So I'm very much aware that we have all been going through some very strange hurdles with the shutdown, both personally, professionally, academically, and familiarly. There's going to be a lot of things a lot of us are facing right now. And one of the biggest reasons why doing Zoom videos, for example, aren't going to work very well is that we're all in different parts of the world right now. So we can't all be in the same place at the same time. And that was the biggest reason why I felt like face-to-face stuff wasn't really going to work out. So what we need to do, though, is for the remainder of the semester, including assignment number 2, is to treat this semester the same way that we would treat a freelance relationship. And I'm being completely honest when I say this. This actually really excites me because so many of you, especially over the last couple of semesters, but in this class as well, have voiced opinions about wanting to be a freelancer when you graduate, whether that was for editorial institutions or for just general purpose or for things that were more specific, whether that be for even comic books, whatever. We've all got this very specific idea that if we're not going to work for an agency or studio, then clearly we have to freelance. Now, here's 2 things to say to that. If you're going to freelance professionally forever and ever, cool, good luck. It's something that I think we all do sometimes, whether we want to or not. But the other reason is that, like, what's happening right now in my life and in all of our lives, freelance is sort of our big trump card, if you'll forgive that term. As you are all aware, I lost my job in early January, a job that I've had for almost 16 years. And as a result of that, my entire family kind of got thrown into chaos. And one of the things I've always said about being a creative person is that when you are creative in worms, like in terms of like art and even writing and music and things like that, you don't really need to work for a person or a group. You were always able to create your own money. It may not be a lot of money. It may be very pitiful in the very beginning, but it's still something. And it's more than you probably would be expected to get if you were a police officer or a banker or a grocer or literally anybody else, because any other position on this planet, you're working for somebody and you really have no choice. You're beholden to what they do and what they need. What's so great about the art world, especially when you're a freelancer, is that you can reach out to the entire world. You can do it from your basement, you can do that from your living room, you can do it from your iPhone, and you've always got some ability to do that. I've actually made quite a bit of money the last couple of weeks sitting at home just doing my own stuff. And then when the pandemic hit and all of the world shut down, and now all these places, from schools to government offices to banks to everybody, they don't know how to behave because they require a physical space in a building to work. Freelancers have never really needed that because our world has always been networking using phone and internet and email and fax when that was a thing. So we've always been able to work in our own little silo. I'm not saying it's perfect, and I'm certainly not saying it's the best way to go, but it has been this great way that we have been able to survive. Even when you want to work in an office, you can still go off into a little corner someplace and do some really good work. And that's exactly what we need to do right now. So to those people that want to freelance, this is it. Welcome to it. You're basically in the middle of what a freelancer's life normally looks like. Something else to say about that as well is that when you're a freelancer, the good and the bad that comes with that is that when you are freelancing, it usually means that the rest of the world sees your time as very fluid and flexible, which can be a bad thing in this way. If you work at an office, you go home at 5 o'clock. That's just your day. 9 o'clock, 5 o'clock, you go home, and then you're done. And the world knows, oh, well, you're not in the office right now. He's not answering his phone. It's after 5 o'clock. That person's gone home for the day. When you're a freelancer, you're kind of around the clock, and that's obviously up to you. You can change your times. You can certainly tell your clients, listen, I just don't work after 6. Fine. But there is an unspoken truth in the freelancing world that freelancers, they work evenings, they work weekends, they work holidays, the big ones and the small ones, and you're kind of always available because the whole reason you went freelance was so that you didn't have to go to an office, and therefore your payment for that is you work when they need you to work, which is, again, I'm not saying that's the right approach, but that is sort of the way the world treats it. It's been that way for eons. Whether you're a big name or a small name, it hasn't really been different. But since we are working in the new gig economy of 2020 and beyond, the world is changing a little bit. They are aware that many, many more people are working from home or working remotely. So the idea that you as a freelancer can have office hours, it's becoming a little bit more accepted. But as you are experiencing right now, when you're getting emails from the school and from relatives and from perhaps jobs that you are working for or not working for, you're getting emails all day long, 10 o'clock at night, 11 o'clock at night, 1 o'clock in the morning. And it's not people who need you right this minute. It just means that nobody ever stops. And if you're a freelancer, that will drive you up a wall, because that means to you, well, do I need to respond right now while this email just came in, or can I wait until 9 o'clock in the morning, or do I have to respond? The guy just sent me something at midnight. Do I got to call him right now? So there's a lot of stress that comes with the what if. And all I can really say to that is, let's embrace 2020 and let's make it so that if you are going to freelance, like we kind of are right now, that your life needs to behave on a schedule. And you need to say that my office hours, as I work in my basement, whatever, are always going to be from 9 till 5, and that's it. That's solid, and nothing is going to break that rule. If you can do that for yourself, cool. Life doesn't usually always let us do that, but let's make it try. On that note, we are talking about the Detroit Grand Prix poster, and so that is a job that is not an assignment. In other words, I did not give you that assignment. That comes to us from outside of the school, and therefore it has its own universe of rules that go along with that. So, unfortunately, I cannot push that one back any farther. So with all of the other assignments that we're talking about this semester, from assignment 1 through 3, 4, and 5, if we get that far, you can turn those in basically on the last day of classes, and that's totally fine. That rule existed with me even before the pandemic shut us all down and made it more of a reality. So that's always going to be fair game. Assignment 2 in the Detroit Grand Prix poster, however, needs to be turned in, and it needs to be turned in by Friday. We'd originally made today, the 25th of March, the original soft due date. Even that was already almost a week extension from when it should have been done last Wednesday. And now this Friday is the true drop dead due date, which means I need to get in everything so that I can turn things around Saturday morning to the client so they can do their quick review, make their selections, and then get prepared for the presentation process, which is going to happen the following week, I believe. That presentation clearly is not going to be in person anymore. More details to come on that. Long story short, it's going to be held through Zoom or some other teleconferencing mechanism. But for right now, I still need to get all the assignments turned in by Friday. Some of you have already expressed concerns about missing hardware, missing software, missing actual files because they were left in dorm rooms when you had to go home. All those cases are understood. I realize those are hurdles that are all quite painful. Despite that, we do need to try to get these pieces turned in however we possibly can. If it is physically impossible, beyond any shred of doubt, that this is going to happen for you by Friday, let me know. And unfortunately, I do need to know a good reason, because that communication is not from me alone. That has to go all the way back to the client through Don and other people, because again, this is a school relationship, not a Brian relationship with the client. So that being said, I do need to get as many pieces turned in as I possibly can. If you feel like you are just in a stage where it's like 80% complete or so, where most things are blocked in, but it's not really tweaked and done, I'm okay with that too. I would rather have something that's mostly complete, certainly because of what's happening in the world. Everybody understands. But if you only have pencil sketches or thumbnails, then clearly that's not enough. I need a whole fairly buttoned up piece. The client is very understanding. They're probably one of the nicest clients I've ever worked for. They're very human. They're very compassionate. At the same time, they've got real world due dates of their own, so they absolutely need to get things turned into printers and such. So their world did not stop, even though they themselves are working from home. They still have things they got to get accomplished, and we're part of that chain. So let's do the best we can to please get things turned into me by Friday. Reach out as soon as you can to let me know where you are. I've heard from a grand total of 6 people so far. There are 17 in our classrooms, so I'm missing quite a few. I'd really like to make sure that everybody gets some notification or artwork turned in so that I know where everybody's at. I would say that I have not heard from more than half of you since we've all gone home for the break, etc. And that's worrying for a lot of obvious reasons, but I also need to make sure that we can continue moving forward for grading and for everything else. It's a pretty interesting situation we're all dealing with right now, so thank you for that. So this more or less concludes the first video, which is to say, please get your pieces turned into me. If you have any questions, concerns, comments about the Detroit Grand Prix piece, please let me know as soon as possible. It's Wednesday, and that leaves us pretty much Thursday as a workable day, and then by Friday afternoon, I need to get these turned in. So again, reach out if you need to. And last comment on that is, don't forget to please add in your body text, which would be obviously the logo, and then the whole title, which is Chevrolet Detroit Grand Prix presented by Lear, and then of course the date, which is May 29 through 31, 2020. And that's it. Once those things are added on, you're pretty much good to go. So again, thank you for your time and patience as we all go through this stuff together. And now on to the second video. Thank you very much, and I'll talk to you momentarily.